Tony D and Little Joan in the background, and this is a screenwriter's rant on the last voyage of the Demeter, the ship that took Dracula to London. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 11. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. The Onion Knight from Game of Thrones is the captain of the ship. And the premise is they are transporting Dracula from Romania to London. And of course, Dracula starts killing everybody on the ship. First, he drains all the blood from the animals, and then he starts going after the crew. And then it's about being trapped on the ship with Dracula. Now, according to legend, vampires cannot move themselves across open waters. They have to be moved. So, I forget. I think this is from the original Dracula story. The Demeter shows up in London. Was the crew all dead in the original story? I don't think so, but maybe that's what it was originally. So it's the crew versus Dracula in the I guess it was the 1800s. So it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. I mean, it's a different take on a vampire movie and a monster movie. So they're on the ship, and they got to fight Dracula. And one by one, Dracula's killing them all. He's draining their blood. I think this is your protagonist. He is a Cambridge-trained doctor who, for some reason, is working on a ship. I don't know. It's their inclusion, I guess. But it looks fine. It looks fine. It looks creepy. Scary, nowhere to hide. Yeah, it's a good premise. Looks like it'll be fun. Fun monster movie. Not sure how you end it though. I mean, like, the victory in this would be that, yeah, they killed Dracula at the end of the movie and they survived. But you kind of can't have that, right? I mean, you kind of have to have everybody either die or there's the Onion Knight. Or somehow Dracula manages to just barely survive. Or they kill him, they think he's dead, but then, they do something stupid with his body. Instead of burning his body, they all right, well, we've stuck a wooden stake through its heart, and now we'll set the body on land and bury it, or something stupid like that, right? I mean, it could end that way. So first act, it's a setup. They've got to deliver this mysterious package, which is, of course, Dracula's body, to London from Romania. There's your protagonist there. I'm trying to get a good shot of him. So there's Dracula. Ooh. So, and the doctor comes on board, and everything's hunky-dory at first. And they, other than their weird client, who cares? They're paying us a bunch of money. So they set sail. And I'm trying to remember if Renfield was in the original, or was that later? Was Renfield added later? I don't remember. But I wonder if he's in the mix. I don't see him in the trailer. So second act would be, of course, things start happening on the ship. All the animals start mysteriously dying. They see the bite marks. They start to figure out it's a vampire. They don't really call it a vampire. He's like the first vampire, but whatever. And then he starts attacking the crew, and people start dying and disappearing, and they try to kill him, but they can't. And they eventually figure out something. And eventually, I think probably the Onion Knight dies. He dies. And the protagonist will probably be the only guy to survive. Yeah, him. I'm going to guess probably the end of this movie is there's a big battle on the ship. And in the midst of the battle, he almost kills Dracula, but then falls off the ship for some reason. Probably by himself. Probably he's the only survivor, right? I don't remember the man. It's been so long since I read the original story. I don't remember how the whole ship thing went down. I want to say that they were all dead when the ship arrived in London, but it doesn't totally sound right. Um, and then Dracula goes on to be Dracula in London. So this is a bit of a prequel, I know, but I like the setup. I do. I mean, if they go off the reservation and kill Dracula at the end of it, that would still be kind of cool. I mean, it's Dracula. Come on. How many times can we see a Dracula movie? This is a bit of a different take. It's like every little thing that Hollywood can exploit in order to do a vampire movie. I mean, it's kind of cool. You wouldn't necessarily need to use Dracula. It probably would have been more interesting to not use Dracula now that I think about it, because then you could have that ending. Well, they could win, or they could all die. Or, the vampire doesn't win and the ship sinks and they all die anyway, or maybe it's something like that. But I think it's going to adhere to the classic story, and I know he gets to London. I know Dracula gets to London. Pretty sure the crew survives. I'm about 65% sure at least some of the crew survives. I think some of them, I think there's a bit about some of them dying, but it's been so long. So I'm going to guess in the third act there's a big battle. He falls off the ship, and he ends up surviving anyway, somehow, and Dracula and by the time he gets back to land, Dracula's already like gone and ensconced in London society or whatever. And then, the ship, some of the ship's crew end up becoming Dracula's thralls, or they leave forever, and because they're all crazy from being bitten by Dracula or whatever. So, I'd see it. I like vampire movies, and this one looks fun. I mean, just the whole thing being trapped on the ship with the vampires, probably the most fun, right? Can they survive? This is from Universal. I wonder if this was part of... Remember when Universal tried to do their own Marvel universe using the Universal monsters, which they had going before, back in the Boris Karloff days. In August 11th in theaters. Oh, here we go. Based on a single chilling chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula classic novel, Dracula, The Last Voyage of the Demeter tells the terrifying story of the merchant ship Demeter, which was chartered to carry private cargo, 50 unmarked wooden crates from Carpathia to London. Strange events befall the doomed crew as they attempt to survive the ocean voyage, stalked each night by a merciless presence aboard the ship. When the Demeter finally arrives on the shores of England, it is charred, derelict, wreck, and no chase of the crew. Oh, okay. So they did all die. I didn't remember that in the story. I thought like maybe some of them survived or whatever. The film stars Corey Hawkins as Clemens, the doctor who joins the Demeter crew. Aisling Franciosi, Game of Thrones. Oh, that's the Onion Knight, I guess. Wow, what a name. Aisling Franciosi. And an unwitting stowaway. Oh, that's not him then. That's another Game of Thrones character. Liam Cunningham. That's him. Game of Thrones, Clash of the Titans, as the ship's captain, David Dashmalchian. And David Dashmalchian from Dune and Ant-Man as the first mate. Film also features John Briones, Stefan Kopakic. Oh, that's Colossus. And Nicola Nikolaev. And Javier Botet. Hard to pronounce names in this cast. From DreamWorks Pictures and the producers of Zodiac and Black Swan, The Last Voyage of the Demeter is directed by Norwegian horror virtuoso Andre Overdahl. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and Troll Hunter. From a script by Brage F. Schut, Escape Room, Stefan Rzyswski, The Counterfeiters, and Zach Olekiewicz, The Upcoming Bullet Train. When did this come out? Oh, I guess this must have come out You should have changed that. Bullet Train's been out forever. Based on the chapter in the Captain's Log of the Bram Stoker's Dracula. The film is produced by Brad Fisher, an Oscar-nominated producer, Mike Medavoy, and Arnold Messer for Phoenix Pictures, and executive produced by Matthew Hurst. Oh, so we got a lot of data there. All right. So then it has to be, I think, the Demeter. Everybody dies except the protagonist, I'm going to say. He survives. They just don't know he survives. Like, that'll be the take, right? The Demeter rolls in, everybody's gone or dead. He maybe wasn't supposed to be on the ship, boarded the last minute, and, he survives on some island or, ends up washed up on the shore later. And then, I don't know, comes back in a sequel, maybe? But that's kind of cool. If they all die, that would be kind of cool, right? That would be really cool. If they all die at the end, it's just a doomed crew, and they go down one by one, and then Dracula wins, and that's the end of the movie. That'd be pretty badass. So I'd like to see that. The Legend of Dracula is born. Well, not really born on the ship, but okay. Now they're going to do Bram Stoker's Dracula a chapter at a time. Yeah, I didn't remember them all dying. But okay, I guess that's the way it went. Interesting. I mean, it'd be great to then do the Dracula movie if this is good, but then you'd have nobody from the old movie other than Dracula. And are we going to get to see Dracula as I don't think we're going to get to see him as like a charming guy. We just get to see him as a monster in this, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of a different take on Dracula. He's almost like the alien in Aliens, right? He just runs around and kills people. So, yeah, I'm down with it. But again, I wonder if this was Universal's pitch when they were doing The Mummy, and Tom Cruise was in that. Talk about your doomed crew. And what was the other thing they did? They did one other. And then they were teeing up Russell Crowe to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because he was in it and he made a cameo. And I guess they were going to do Frankenstein or whatever. All right. So yeah, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, coming August 11th. I think I might see this. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more base takes. If you want to see my real videos, you got to go to Odysee, Bitchute, or Rumble. Sorry, they're just too spicy for YouTube. I'll be at the Pinelands Library in Medford, New Jersey on Saturday at 2 p.m. for my talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil. See you there.